Hi guys, Josh from Smith Boys Racing. Today we're just working on some floors for the little junior. Just sort of make a quick video, just running through my process. Well, the stage we've got up to is cutting out the cardboard templates. These are all done. I've made the rear first. Made one yesterday, so today just follow on. Just simple. Cut out the cardboard, bit of tape, especially around the edges where you cut with the scissors. I've actually had to fold it around there to make the edge sort of straight to trace out. So that's it there. You can bend the cardboard to get your fold lines, so this one will fold up at the front. I've made all the templates and I've transferred them onto the, what I'm using is natural HDPE, 3mm. So once again, test and tag pen, trace them all out. So the line will get to about as thin as a pacer line. It's quite good to work to. This one's all ready to get heated and folded. All I'm using for this is just a bit of a 40x3 angle, just a couple clamps, just the heat gun. My old heat gun died. It was a Zito, it was about 10 years old. It used to electrocute me, so I had to buy another one. Makita all the way. So one thing to note when you do these, a cardboard fold will pretty much fold, so within 3mm you'll get a really tight radius. You won't get the same with the plastic. So from your fold line, you'll have to just play with it to what you're bending around, but you've got to clamp back from your fold line to get it to land in the same distance when it's folded as the cardboard. You have to move it back probably 5-6mm, depending what you're folding around. This works pretty well. I had to do 2 in here yesterday and actually make it fit between the frame. That was a bit tricky. Actually had to tighten this radius up and move this line because I didn't allow enough for that fold. So it's only an issue if you have to make it go into something, sort of to fit into something with 2 folded bends on each side. So this one's all prepped. This one's ready to go. Pre-drilled them all. What I'm using here is a step drill, Milwaukee step drill. I think it's like 6 to 35mm. So what I'll do, I'll mark out my radiuses on the tangent of the line that I'm working to. Always try and run straight lines and just use the holes just to give myself a radius, just somewhere for the jigsaw to start. Like in here, really tight radius for the jigsaw to get around. So it'll just help me out. What I do here, mark it up with my pen, take the prick punch. This is different to a center punch in the fact that it's a 60-degree taper, not a 90 as a center punch would be. This is really good just for starting out, especially in the HDPE. You can actually punch pretty much straight through the plastic. Then I'll run a pilot drill at 3mm to get my center for accuracy. I'll then go through at 6mm and then give the start of the step drill something to work into. One thing to note with these, they do have the little scale on them. It's quite hard to see when they're spinning. So what I like to do is just get my pen and put a mark where you can run a bit of tape. I have tape somewhere. You can actually put a bit of tape on the one that you want to stop at. Yeah, in that sort of sense. That will just give you something, a little stopper, a little guide to let you know where to stop. Another thing I like about these, only about 3mm each step, but they do have the countersinking bit, so you don't have to countersink afterwards. Your countersink is included in the next size. So they're quite good. They're not cheap, they're about $150 or something for that one there. Keep in mind that they are for sheet metal work. So if you're doing like this, I sort of had to spin it over and come from the other side. I do go through 6mm steel sometimes for cleaning up holes, and the same if you're on a bit of flat bar, you have to flip it over, come back from the other side, just sort of only good for about 2mm depth. So that's what I've done here. Done all my radiuses up to the tangent of the line. So what I like to do, work outside for this because it's quite messy. So I've set up a little station outside. This little table. I use this for everything. I've sort of cut into it. I don't care. It's a little Bunnings table, I don't really care. I like to use a grinder as much as I can. You can use a grinder and abrasive wheels on plastic, no problem. Use the 1mm cutting disc. The only thing to note when you do these, you can't plunge cut. You'll create a lot of friction in the metal, in the plastic, and you'll melt it. Which isn't an issue, you just pick it off, it literally picks off. So when you use an angle grinder, I cut straighter with an angle grinder, so I like it. Use the jigsaw for all the sort of contours and radius sort of stuff you can't get to with the grinder. All these straight lines I'll use a grinder for. You have to start from the edge of the plastic and go all the way along, and you won't get a melted edge. Just move quickly, that's the only thing. When I'm done, when I've cut it out to the shape I like, I'll use the jigsaw as well for all the little stuff. Come in and cut out all the little stuff. I'll then fit up, the older the better, I'll fit up an old buffing wheel, one that's not very abrasive anymore, and then just sort of come along. That edge has been cleaned up. I'll run it across this way. You always have to go backwards with these, same as the lynching belt. If you're doing it, you sort of have to go, on the lineage you have to go up, not down. It helps remove the material and doesn't clog the belt. Same with these. You can't go forward when you do this, you have to come backwards. And I'll just come along, clean that edge up, and come along 45 degrees, clean that one, come along, clean that one with the grinder. And that's straight off the grinder. I'll run around it as well with a bit of probably 320, just to remove those little furry bits, a couple little furry bits. But I haven't cleaned this edge up. The reason I haven't cleaned this up is it's a folded line. When I do a folded line, I allow another 10mm, 10, 12, even 15mm, just because you're not really sure how much material you use in the bend. It's probably double the thickness. You probably end up with about a 10mm radius bend. So that just allows you enough material that if you do, you don't fall short. You want to be up nice and flush on the top. That just gives you a bit of a safeguard. Then you can come back later and trim that off, remark it once it's actually on the bike. What I do from there, I like the white. I like working with the white. Visible lines and everything to work to. Semi-transparent, so you can actually see through it. So once I'm actually ready to drill, once I fit them all up and I'm ready to drill, if I can't get my pen underneath, normally I'll just take my pen and I'll just run it through my little plate, through my hole, trace on the backside. If I can't get into it, I'll chuck a torch under it. This is a nice little Milwaukee magnetic torch. You can see exactly where your hole's going to be. You'll see a hole through that. You can actually trace the top side, run your 3mm one through it. If it's a little bit off, you can reclaim that. So that's, use the shadow from your torch through the semi-transparent. I'll use the white for the top on this one, then I'll use black underneath. The price of materials for this, I think it was $70 a sheet. Had a little bit left over from the billy cart. I actually used it all on the billy cart, the HDPE. Another good thing about it, you can etch the plastic and you can paint it. Oh, I did that on the billy cart. Used some hammer tone. when you're making your cardboard templates, just you can fix it all in place with some tape, just to allow yourself a bit more accuracy. The best tape I found, probably the cheapest also, Super Cheap Auto has this stuff. It's about $6 or $8 a roll. Probably the best stuff you can get. Most affordable. You always just use it, tear it off and throw it in the bin. Yeah, that's super cheap. That's a really good. It's a bodywork tape. It's for masking up. It's quite good tape. But it's affordable. That's what you want. Affordability as well. So what I've done here, I don't actually use the Zeus fasteners. I'm not a big fan of them. They're for speed. I mean, you don't take these off at a track anyway. Pull them all off when you get home. I like to utilise the stainless steel countersunk screws with the Nylox. Just a strip of, I think this is maybe 15 millimeters, some are like even smaller, 12 millimeters. I just utilise the flat strip and just weld them in. They actually tie your frame together a little bit as well, give you a little bit of a gusset. I don't tap it or anything, just put Nylock on it. Remember, Nylox are for like one-time use. So when I'm doing all this fitting up stuff, it's sort of like put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off. It's very monotonous. So this is what I like to use, except with the final fit up. I'll use a Nylock for the final fit up. They're little M6 by 20 countersunk screw, and I'll use these little aluminium panel washers. I mean, you pull them off when you get home from a meeting. It's nothing to take off a couple Nylocks. So these here, I think you get off eBay for about $13 for 10, free postage. They're quite little. They look quite nice when they're all in plastic. So I like those, not the Zeus fasteners. Zeus fasteners, I find you only get a really small contact area for the weld. So you only get probably like 2 spots. So I prefer a nice, 25 millimeter weld. And also, they act as a gusset as well to hold all your frame together as well. Given this is only 1/2-inch chrome moly tube, 1.6 wall thickness. For this here, MQ, MA, the governing bodies that stipulate that you can't have. There's a minimum gap. I can't recall what it is. You can't get a foot. The minimum gap is so that you cannot get a foot between the swinger or rider, whichever. Can't get a foot between the frame. Given that I've got this sort of custom one-off, unique sort of eccentric, adjustable sort of plate on this, I made a little bit of an infill here, just to give the kids, given that kids are going to be riding it, this closed the gap up for the wheel, but it just gives them a little ledge as well. This is it's gloss, it is very slippery. Get a bit of wet deco in a boot, you've got no tread. On the billy cart, I've actually had to put scooter grip tape on, just to give some grip. So just if the kids do come across, they've got something to hit. Also acts as a infill as well to satisfy the MAMQ rule that a foot cannot get between here, which there is a bit of excess gap here. It's probably about 80-90 mil without this infill. So now that they should be happy with that. Bit of safety for the kids as well. What I use for this one, I don't actually use the tube bender. I've got this little fella. This is just a manual pipe bender. Comes with various size dies. You won't bend, you won't bend 1-inch chrome moly tube in it. Definitely not. It is a pipe bender, so it is OD. But the dies do work. You could probably do solid bar in it too if you wanted. It worked quite well for just doing the small 1/2-inch stuff. Quite a nice radius. Worked quite well for that. So that's sort of what we're up to today. Just give you a few little tricks of how to work some plastic. Don't have to apply it to sidecars. You can apply it to anything. DIY projects, any sort of stuff like that. So that's pretty much it, guys. We'll call it a wrap at that, and we'll catch us next time. Bye for now.